Oh, what is up, guys, and welcome to the Meeple Minded podcast, the podcast where we talk all things tabletop gaming. My name is Jason.
And I'm James.
How are you doing this week, James?
Very good.
Good. Are you in high spirits?
No, I've come here straight from work.
Oh, well, I tried. How was work? Was it all right?
It was work-like.
It was work-like. You've got to earn money somewhere, James. As you said last week, you got to do that overtime because UK Games Expo is coming, and we have now officially booked the hotel.
We have. We haven't bought the tickets yet.
This is true. Well, one of the party has. So 1 out of 6 is pretty good. So, that's a good start. I was meant to book mine and my partners today, and I'm glad you've reminded me of that fact. I will do that before I go to bed this evening.
Yep.
But yes, we have been playing games this week, Joe. We played a fair few last night, didn't we?
We did play.
We did, yes. We had a very good game night last night. We had Ant-Man from the MTVB over. We had our newsman, Paul.
We did.
Who was here kind of celebrating his new standalone show, which I guess is the big news this episode, James, is we've got to fill the entire episode by ourselves.
Oh.
So we've got to do more work, James.
Such a slave driver, James.
I am indeed, and I love it. What games did we play last night, James? What were your highlights of the night? Let's put it that way.
Ooh, I mean, Marvel United's always good.
We did. We played the new, well, currently the newest Marvel United, the X-Men Marvel United. It won't be that way for long because I know they've just crowdfunded the next lot of stuff for Marvel United, which I believe is Multiverse, which could be interesting. No, not that they're following the MCU in any way, shape or form on that one, but yeah. How did we do it at Marvel United? 'Cause we played 2 games, didn't we?
We did.
And if memory serves correctly, we won both?
We did win both.
One against Juggernaut, one against...
Magneto,
yeah. Ironically, Magneto was easier to beat.
Yes.
Strange. Very, very strange. But yeah, that was good fun. You had another experience... In fact, you had another 2 experiences of playing unmatched.
Yes, I did.
Different ones this time.
I think that was my personal highlight.
Yeah?
I enjoyed that game.
Okay, that's good. Which one? The first one or the second one? Because first one, you died pretty quickly.
I did. But I was trying a new character, so I didn't quite understand how it worked.
What happened in that first one, James? What happened? Because you were trying to stand away.
Paul just came over and...
Yeah, well, I think it's because I used one of my... I was playing Sherlock, wasn't I?
Yeah.
And I used one of my cards, which enabled us to switch.
Yeah, you moved me
and I put you right in the middle of 2 people. Sorry.
Yes.
Not sorry. But yeah, you died pretty quickly in that one. And then myself and Paul took to taking care of Anthony.
Yep.
Which needed to happen, obviously. And then we just started slogging it out because we were both pretty much at full health. And while we were finishing off our game, you guys set up a second game.
Yes, we did Robert Malden versus the Raptors.
Yes, the other Jurassic Park standalone not expansion thing. How was that one?
I won that one.
You won that one. Was it definitive? I mean, you got used to laying the traps everywhere, didn't you?
I did. I mean, he still got me close to dying, but I got off to a really good start because I killed one of them almost instantly.
Oh wow, how the hell did you do that? I mean, I've not played with those characters
just
yet, so
lucky card draws.
Oh, okay, fair.
But yeah, so I got him down to 2 raptors pretty quickly.
I mean, in fairness, when you died in the first game, I remember we looked at your cards. All you had was just attack, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like attack. No defense. And then obviously towards the bottom of your deck, you had loads of defense. So that game really does have an element of luck to it, doesn't it?
It does.
But yeah, now that you've played a few more different characters from different sets, how do you feel about the game now as like a first impressions?
Oh, I really like it.
You like it. That's good. So spoilers for when we get to the eventual episodes.
I enjoy it, especially at that 4-player count. It's just carnage.
Oh, it's great fun. It's great fun at 4-player, without a doubt. And you've got the bigger map as well, which makes it more fun. I would love to get the T-Rex and the Raptors in on those 4-player games.
Yep.
To see how they stack up on that as well. Because we were all fairly nice to each other, I would say. We all took humanish
characters.
during that one. But yeah, that was great fun. You unfortunately had to leave after a few games.
Yep.
Because you had work today. Oh, we also played Marvel Remix for the first time.
We did.
I enjoyed that. I really did. I didn't think I was going to. It had an air of Red Rising about it, with the whole building a hand of points, essentially. But then with certain restrictions, you had to have a villain, you had to have a hero, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And the game ended when there was 10 discard cards, I believe.
Yeah. I personally felt that was a bit too restrictive on the requirements of what you had to have. Because I found that I got to a point, you won it by a point from me.
Yes.
But I had that hand within about 3 plays and then didn't want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So I was just literally just going, no.
Yeah.
No.
You were trying to end the game, basically.
No. Yeah. But after 2 or 3 plays, that's really quick.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just sheer luck or if the requirements of it are a little too restrictive.
Yeah. We kind of, obviously, that also comes with an element of you want a hand that's going to play well with each other. I started the game with Thor.
Yeah.
But in order to upgrade it to the God of Thunder, I had to find Thor's hammer. And that didn't come out for the entire game.
Yep.
Now, luckily enough, Jane Foster came out and she played well with Thor.
Yeah.
So I managed to get some good points with that. But if I hadn't, that would have been a good sort of 8, I think it was 13 points I wouldn't have had. And I drew that in the very last round. So I only won that by 1 point, and it was only because Jane Foster, I think it might have been you. I think it was you. Ironically, it was you that put it down. And I obviously, I'll have that. And then, of course, the next round, you did what you said. You drew a card, basically put it straight down, and that ended the game. So I was lucky.
Yeah.
I was very lucky on that. But very good game. Look forward to playing it again. But anyway, that was what we played last night. We've obviously played a few other things recently, but we won't talk about those. We are going to talk about the game that we played this time last year, so we'll have a quick discussion about that. And then we'll be getting on to our main event for the episode, which is a game we've been looking forward to since I managed to get it at the end of last year. We're talking about Starship Captains. James, you looking forward to that one?
I am.
I thought you would be. But before we get there, James, Stained Glass of Sintra was what we played and talked about this time last year.
Ooh.
Yes. Now, I know that this is my personal favourite of the Azul series. And I know at one point you were tiptoeing around the fact that Summer Pavilion was your favourite, then it switched to Stained Glass, then it went back to Summer Pavilion, then it went to Stained Glass.
I think I've settled that Stained Glass just pips it.
Yeah, we still haven't got you to play the new one.
No.
Queen's Garden?
Queen's Garden.
I've still only played that once, so we'll hopefully get that done at some point. But yeah, Stained Glass, how do you feel about it? Obviously, it's your favourite Azul, but...
Yeah, I still feel the same way I did about it when we did the episode. It's just a shame we haven't managed to get it to the table very often.
Yeah, I think the few times that I've played it would have been at events that you weren't at, which is a shame. But I think it's one of those things, because me and you only really get to game together maybe a couple of times a week.
Yeah.
And one of those is on and off because it's our Monday night club, which is increasingly busy.
Yep.
So we have to surrender our table. But when we're here, it's just kind of like we've got all these other games to choose from.
Yeah.
And that is where I stand on Azul Stained Glass. It is my favourite from that series, but am I going to get it to the table? Well, if I'm introducing new players, it's still one of those that's really high up there for me. But other than that, I'm probably, if I've got my normal game group with me, I'm going to choose something else.
Yeah.
Which is a real shame, because it is a very good game, and I think maybe even next week we should maybe break it out as the warm-up game for the night.
Yeah.
Because I think we could do that. I'm still high on the game. I very much look forward to playing it again, and I'm sure you're the same.
Indeed.
Yeah. Shall we jump on to the main event, James? Seeing as though we've been yakking for like 10 minutes now.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okie dokie, guys. So, Starship Captains. What is Starship Captains? Well, it is a worker placement and space exploration style game released by Czech Games Edition in 2022. The game is designed to be played by 1 to 4 players aged 10 and up, with an estimated playtime of approximately 20 minutes per player, but I think if you're playing solo, it's 40 minutes. And at the time of recording, I had a quick look earlier, and you can purchase this game for around the £45 mark. In Starship Captains, players are in command of their very first starship and are hungry to prove their worth in the galaxy full of space pirates, grumpy old androids, ancient artifacts, and interplanetary adventures. To achieve this goal, players must manage a crew of cadets, ensigns, androids, and officers, each with different special roles and capabilities. Players also have the ability to upgrade your ship with powerful engine building technology for maximum synergy. That is the basic premise of the game. Now let's talk about what comes in the box when you buy Starship Captains.
Okay, Jason, inside the box you get 1 double-sided main board, 3 double-sided faction trackers, 4 ship boards, 1 central tech board, 4 double-sided tech slot boards, 50 tech cards, 12 Omega tech cards, 2 station cards, 50 mission cards, 11 event cards, 18 of each colour of figure, red, yellow and blue, 12 of the grey ones, 8 android figures, 20 promotion rings, 4 ship figures, and a bunch of tokens.
Oh, you're not going to break down those tokens,
I'm not going to break down those tokens.
Okay.
Tokens.
Okay.
Tokens.
There's a fair few tokens in the game, isn't there? Yeah, pirate tokens, damage tokens, all sorts of tokens. Medals and all sorts of jazz. Yes. As always, there is solo components to this game, but we don't do solo. So if you're looking for the solo stuff, have a look on Board Game Geek. So, James, first and foremost, it's right in front of you, the rulebook.
The rulebook.
The rulebook. How is it laid out? Is it easy to maneuver your way around? I mean, obviously the component side of things is 2 full pages.
It is 2 full pages, but I also like the fact that on the components page there are instructions on how to assemble the certain bits that need assembling.
Yes, which we will get to. That will confuse a lot of people when we say assembly.
Yep. It's all very brightly coloured, which helps. It's very clear. The diagram of the setup is very clear. It's all nicely annotated. The diagrams and each bit is on, the relevant text is right next to the diagram, and the diagram is annotated, which makes it very easy to follow along with. So yeah, I think this rulebook's pretty well put together. Pretty
good, yeah. I think there's a lot of it's a lot bigger, to be honest. Once you've learned the game, it seems like that rulebook is a bit too big, really. For how simple this game is, I would say writing wise and actually learning the rules is incredibly well written. It's very easy to understand what you're supposed to be doing, when you're supposed to be doing it. Like you said, the setup side of things is really, really good. Explains it, point by point. The setup for the game, I will admit, is a bit of a faff.
Bit of a faff.
It's definitely a bit of a faff, I would say. I mean, I think you've watched me set it up a few times now, and while it doesn't seem particularly difficult, it is a bit of a faff, and it's also a surprising table hog, I would say, for this game, because the actual board itself is not that big, but then you've got the 3 tracks that go on the side, then you've got the other track where you keep all your sort of upgrades, then all the player boards are quite big, but it surprisingly requires a lot of space. We fill the 5x3 table that we play on here with the game. But other than that, the rulebook is incredibly well done. Czech Game Edition, they are really, really good at making sure their rulebooks are very, very easy to read and understandable. They also include these lovely player aid cards, one for every player, which is great. Explains what all the logos and symbology and stuff does within the game, as well as breaking down a round overview, which is really, really good. So moving on, James, the overall components of the game. What are your initial thoughts on the components for this game? We have a few little bits and bobs out in front of us.
We do. Most of them are perfectly adequate. The vast majority of it is punchboard.
Yes, yeah, and normal card stock as well for your cards.
So the game board's pretty sturdy. Mm-hmm. The main board, as are the tech boards.
Yep.
So no bad things to say about that. I really like the design of the Starship boards.
The player board, the individual player boards, yeah. Not dual layer, but not dual layer, James.
Indeed. So it's actually single layer that
folds.
Yeah. To make a dual layer punch board.
Yeah.
That has all your crew slots nicely, so they slot around in it, and it's well designed for that purpose as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like these.
Yep.
On the opposite end of the spectrum, I really dislike the Starship
The irony is you've highlighted the two things I'm going to be talking about as well.
The Starship tokens.
Okay. What don't you like about them?
While they are perfectly serviceable, I don't like the way they go together, because I remember putting this together with you and thinking I'm going to rip the graphic off of this, folding it up and pushing it together.
Yeah. So obviously, referring back to what you're talking about with your components, this is the construction that we're talking about. So the boards, the player boards that James was talking about, they are fantastic. And I actually think this may well be the future of dual layer boards, because the problem with dual layer boards is they're really, really good, but they warp really badly. And you would think being thicker or two layers that they would be a bit more sturdy, but actually it's the complete opposite effect. They do, in fact, warp really badly. Whereas this, because it's a single layer that folds over, and they provide you with essentially glue dot stickers that you strategically place throughout that, and it should keep it closed. I've not personally put them on. They work perfectly well as it is, just folding them over. So yeah, they're really good. And that is a construction side of things. Then, as you said, you actually have to construct the ships themselves. Now, as we said, they are serviceable and they work. They're clearly designed to do what they do and put them together. The problem is, there's already plastic within this box. Just give me a plastic one.
Yeah, that's...
If there'd been no other plastic in this box, I would have totally accepted a punch board and build your own ship. But you're already producing plastic. They've done the sculpt because you can actually download it and print it yourself for free.
It's not the fact that it's punchboard, it's the way it goes together. You fold it and then it's kind of, I don't know if you, the kind of
pressure fit, isn't it?
The sorcery bit pushes into the fins and it just tears the graphic off it.
Yeah, if you're not very careful. Yeah.
It is a really tight fit.
Yeah, which is both good and bad. It needs to be tight so it doesn't fall apart. But yeah, do it wrong and
you've wrecked it.
You've wrecked it. But like I said, you've designed a 3D ship that can be printed. You're already producing most of the game with plastic. You've only got to produce 4 ships.
Yeah.
They all look the same. Just give me the ships.
Yeah.
You know. So, I mean, yeah, little niggles, I guess. Little niggles, but that is, I feel, a misstep on that one. But yeah, like you said, everything else is pretty serviceable. I am going to comment on the actual game board itself first, because there's no wrap around the board like you would normally get. So it is exposed cardstock, basically. And history has taught us that this is bad because, moisture can get in there. Eventually this could swell, which will eventually make the graphic on the board potentially come up. I don't know. I probably would have just stuck a wrap around it personally. But that's just me. Again, that's added cost, I guess. Maybe they're trying to keep the costs down. I'm not sure. Other than that, the components are very, very good. The miniatures aren't too bad. There's a fair few of them. The cardstock is very good. I'm going to now have to bring up the fact, get ready. No
box insert.
Nothing. Nothing at all. Not a bit of card, nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's an open box. It's quite a big box for what's in it. And because of such, my game board, when I first got it out, is dented. My rulebook is dented. My cards were not dented, but they showed signs of damage. And it is solely because they were rattling around in the box because there was nothing holding them in place. Not even a piddly little FFG style box insert where they stick a couple of bits of cardboard in there to hold it in place. This box had so much air, it's actually caused a lot of damage to my game. Not to the point that it's not playable, but it was noticeable, which is a problem. I'm not going to go on about the box insert. I've actually made a box insert. It took me about 6 hours with some cards, with some graphics medium chipboard and some foam core, and it works really, really well. I've now also ordered a third-party one, which I'm going to wait for because it's actually a Kickstarter that I've done it. And finally, James, with the components, and I know this isn't something that you will not have noticed, I'm going to pass you this box lid and ask you to feel that box lid. Does that or does that not feel incredibly thin and flimsy to you? by comparison of normal boxes. Made worse by the fact that there's no insert. The bottom one now is actually pretty sturdy, but now I've got my box insert in there.
Yeah.
So I do feel when it comes to the storage of this game, they've saved quite a bit of money on that. However, it looks lovely.
It does.
This cover art is amazing. It's really, really good.
Yes. The Star Trek that isn't Star Trek.
Yeah, I mean, let's just address the elephant in the room. This is Star Trek, the board game, without the IP plastered all over it, yes? Because you, if I understand, am a fan of Star Trek.
I am a Star Trek fan. And yes, it's Star Trek without the IP.
Yeah. So this should be an interesting discussion, James, because I'm not a Star Trek fan. I actually dislike Star Trek. Now, that would beg the question as to why I own this game. I liked the look of it. I like the premise around this game. And one thing I do like is the Orville. So for me, in my head, I retheme this as the Orville.
I mean, it could be, in argument, it could actually be stated that this is actually, despite the fact that the box art clearly screams Star Trek, that this is actually the Orville board game because it's got that slightly more light-hearted feel to it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's sort of the halfway point, isn't it? Like, it's not Star Trek, but it clearly is. This is a Star Trek-inspired game.
Yes.
That's where I think we'll leave it on this one. Theme for the game, James? Are you a fan? Do you think it works?
I do think the theme works brilliantly for this game.
Yeah? Okay, cool. Well, I guess we need to transition ourselves now into the gameplay because we've talked about the theme. Let's talk about the gameplay. James, any particular highlights about this game that really stand out to you personally that you either really like or don't like or both?
Okay, so the two elements that I enjoy about this game are I really like how the worker placement aspect works.
Yeah.
And I like the engine building aspect of the tech.
Yes. So, yeah, the worker placement aspect, let's highlight that a little bit because that's on my list of things that I do indeed like. So you start the game with, if memory serves correctly, 6 different colour ensigns. So I think you have 2 red, 2 blue, 2 yellow, and then a grey cadet.
Yes.
4 of which are in your ready room, 3 of which are in your queue.
Yes.
And what those workers are, they are how you do your actions in the game. So on your individual player board, your ship, you've got essentially 4, I guess, I mean, they're not squares, but basically, let's say squares. One is red, one is yellow, one is blue, one is grey. The red one is to move. So in order to move your ship on the main board, you use a red ensign. You perform 1 move action, which allows you to move twice.
Yep.
And then that red ensign would join the back of the queue.
Yes.
Yellow one allows you to shoot the various pirates that you will find scattered about the board. The blue one allows you to buy tech to upgrade your ship.
Yep.
And the grey one is ultimately he's useless because he can literally only repair the ship, whereas all the other 3 can also be used to repair the ship. They can also be sent on away missions, so on and so forth. So that's basically it. That's your core game mechanics of how you move about the board and stuff like that. And for the most part, it's actually really difficult to get new people into your ship. For the most part, you will go most of the game with just those 7. Apart from, I think it's rounds 3 and 4, you get given an extra cadet.
Yeah.
You can use medals that you procure throughout the game in order to retrain your ensigns. You can train your cadet to become an ensign.
Yep.
And you can also use those medals to promote one of your ensigns to being a commander. Now, this is another thing I want to talk about for the game, James, is that commander mechanic.
Yes.
While I like the idea of it, I really do, I personally find it to be a bit of a waste. A waste of medals in order to do it, because what that does essentially is you put a little circular thing around the base of your ensign, which then signifies them as a commander. They can then perform 2 actions.
Yep.
That could be 2 of the same action, it could be 1 of 2 different actions, or you can perform 1 action, make them join the queue, and then kick out one of their department's ensigns back into the ready room so that you've got another person to use.
Yeah, so basically you always have to leave 3 in the queue, don't you?
Yeah.
So what Jason means by that is, say you had 5 guys in the queue, and then your commander joins the back. And say he's a red commander.
Mm-hmm.
So he is 6th in the queue, but there's a red at 4.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to get that 4th one, that red back on the next refresh. So he can immediately kick him out of the queue,
mm-hmm.
and he's still stays there for your turn. So you're effectively getting an extra turn.
Yes. Yeah.
To do things, which is very useful. I find them most useful, though, for their away mission.
Memory serves correct, because it's one of the few mechanisms within the game I don't tend to use. But for memory, if you use them on an away mission,
you get double the reward.
Which is pretty good. That's not too bad.
That's usually what you got to weigh up, because the medals are worth points at the end of the game. So you got to weigh up, am I getting more benefit by stockpiling my medals for points at the end of the game, or am I better off spending them to actually do stuff within the game?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the commanders. I'm sort of on the fence about it. That's kind of like a meh mechanism for me personally.
I quite like it. I think in all the games we've played, there's only been one where I haven't promoted up a commander. I always usually have at least one.
Yeah, I think I would say I always end up with one, but, you can do up to 5 in this. And I'm just sitting there going, who in their right mind is wasting 15 medals, because it costs 3.
Yeah, well, unless you've got that tech card that allows you to do it for 1 less. That's usually when you start spamming the commanders.
Yeah, so...
the commanders are actually worth points at the end of the game.
They're worth 1 point. Yeah, if you've got a commander, they're worth 1 point. So I guess we can use that as a nice little transition over into talking about those tech cards, James, because they are ways of creating a really nice synergy within your grand scheme.
Yes.
There is also a way to, I guess, there's what on your tech deck where you can buy new tech. There is also Omega cards, which essentially are end of game scoring points from what I've seen.
Apart from the really, 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 really filthy broken one.
Oh, which one's that then, Jay?
The one that you usually snap up as soon as it comes out. the one that the last couple of games we played, we've intentionally removed from the deck.
Yes. Yeah. Which, for reference of this, at the end of the game, when you're doing your final scoring, the very last thing you do is you have to subtract 1 point per damage that your ship currently has. There is a Omega, I believe it's an Omega card.
It is an Omega card.
Which it's basically written that you would still subtract 1 for every damage you get, but then that Omega card gives you 1 for every damage that you have.
Yes.
Which is ultimately like saying it negates damage.
Yep.
And yeah, it's broken as sin, because you can just literally do whatever you want, let the damage pile up on your ship.
Yep. I suppose some background about damage as well. In this, you can't die. You just keep taking damage.
Yeah. The one thing that I would say with regards to damage and going down that strategy is it's pointless ever shooting pirates. It's pointless collecting treasure, because obviously as soon as you get another damage, it immediately takes it out.
Yep.
Because damage always takes precedence over any treasures that you may have procured within the game. But tech cards, James, in all the games we've played, because we've played a fair few now, would you say that the tech cards are well balanced?
Aside from that one, yes.
Okay. I disagree.
Interesting.
Not in a way that's as bad as that one. That card that we've just been talking about is OP. It shouldn't really be in the game as far, because if you've got that card, it's basically like saying you're going to be one of the top players. I would argue that some of the tech cards are also very, very powerful. We think back to the last game that we played. I managed to get the 3 tech cards which allowed me to retrain ensigns free of charge, and I got all 3 of the colours.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to just retrain my ensigns, and that enabled me to do so much more, and I won that game by a substantial amount.
I would say, though, that's more for the rest of us for not snapping them up.
Yeah. I mean, it obviously helped the very first one that came out was the retrain to blue, because then as soon as another one came out, it's like, right, retrain that to blue, claim that one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's another one. Cool. Retrain that to blue, claim that one. Oh, now I've got all 3. Now it's like, well, I can do all these missions. I haven't got to worry about getting to these, we'll talk about missions and how they work in a second, but I can take these missions. Oh, look, this is a 7-point mission. What do I need? That. Okay, retrain that. Next turn, retrain that. Done. And it just became became a very, very powerful engine that I had.
Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't necessarily, because the odds are of you getting all three of those are very slim. And the only reason I didn't take one of them is because I was doing the whole link thing. That's the engine I was trying to build. I didn't actually care about the text on the card. It was all about getting those links.
Yeah. So the links that you're talking about, again, this is another interesting mechanic with regards to the tech. When you buy tech, it goes into your... I can't remember.
Tech slots.
Essentially, yeah. You've got your own little personal tech slots at the board at the bottom of your ship. And at the start of the game, some of them are damaged, so you can't place anything there. But once they're all down, you've got, I think it's 6 slots where you can put text. And each tech card has...
little icons on the side of it.
Certain parts of it. And if you get 2 identical icons to line up as you put a card down, that gives you basically an extra action. It's a specific action.
If memory serves, it's move, repair, or gain a medal. Those are your 3 things.
Yeah, I think there's other ones as well, but they're the main ones that you will see. And that's dirty, because then if you've got a tech card that also, like, because there's some in there that are color coordinated, so when you have that, it gives those color ensigns another option to do. So let's say, maybe I'm not round a pirate, but I've got 2 yellows. Well, I've actually got a yellow action here that I can use.
I mean, depending on your strategy, this is why I don't think the tech cards are OP. Because almost all of them could be classed as OP. Do you not remember you're talking about that synergy? Do you not remember the one where I had, what was it, the I can't remember what, the Galaxy Drive, which is basically, I don't need to use my red ensigns. I can jump halfway across. I can I can basically
the jump drive.
Yeah, I can just go bang, and I think it costs. I think it was a yellow card.
It was a yellow. Yeah.
So I don't want to shoot any pirates because I take damage. So I'm not shooting with my yellow ensigns. Oh, look, now I can move with them. And only that, I'm not restricted to the space lanes. I'm at this end of the board. Now I'm at that end of the board.
Yeah.
Whoop.
Yeah, why not? Exactly. If you got it, use it.
All of them could be classed as OP. I just think they're situational as to when they're OP.
Yeah, I mean, I could say... I can understand where you're coming from on that one. But I do feel that some of them are definitely nowhere near as desirable as some of the others.
Yeah.
Which, it just kind of leads me to on the grounds of, they're probably not all that balanced.
Yeah, I mean, the weapon ones are pretty powerful if your tactic is to go round, is the pirate hunter strategy, basically, but I never go for that option, so I just ignore the weapons.
Yeah, I am going to talk about that particular strategy, but before we talk about that, I want to talk about the missions, and there is a reason for that. So the key thing of this game is clearly what this game is based around is there are various missions dotted about the board, which as you complete them with your various coloured ensigns, you move your ship, you land on the planet, you send your ensigns out, they do some kind of humanitarian work, I'm guessing, get a big cheer from the locals, and then you get given victory points.
Yeah.
Is essentially the long and short of it. That is probably the best way to score points within the game, because you can be awarded anything from 2 to 7 points.
Yes.
Per mission.
So the layout of the mission cards, you will have a bit of fluff text telling you what the mission is, and then down the side of it, it's got like coloured bars, and this is how you always get the victory points.
Yep.
And the coloured bars will have rewards next to them.
Yep.
And you've got a little slot on your player board where that mission card goes. I think you can have up to three coloured squares, because there are three transporter bays, because that's what they're supposed to be. And you put your crew members into the transporter room, which is at the end of your queue.
Yep.
And they will complete it. So you can send any colour.
Yep.
Any colour you want. So it could be red, blue, blue.
Yep.
And you could send yellow, 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 if that's what you had.
Yeah.
You would always get the victory points. You just don't get the rewards.
Yeah, because the rewards are only given if you match the colour to that particular reward. You also have androids within the game, which are actually really, really good. Like, if you can get them, because you get given them as rewards for various different things throughout the game. They can be used as essentially wild colours on away missions.
Yes.
But they're androids, so you don't really care about them that as a present to the locals, you leave it there.
Yeah.
Because it's clearly C-3PO and he's just annoying. So, yeah, you use them and you just leave them because they don't go back on your ship.
Nope. And their base is specifically designed so that it won't fit in the queue.
Yes, exactly. So that's basically missions. Missions are easy. Missions are how you score the majority of your points within the game. Now, let's double back to that pirate hunter aspect, James, because when I played this game for the first time, James, I kind of wasn't really interested in flying around the board in a pick up and deliver style game of completing these exploration missions. I wanted to go around and be the pirate hunter. I wanted to go around and shoot pirates because pirates give you points at the end of the game. The downside is it also gives you damage, which you then have to use certain people to fix your fix your ship and try and maintain that balance. The problem I have, this is one of the main issues I do have with this game, and it's not a devastating one because I do enjoy this game. The only way, if you want to win this game, you have to do missions. There is no way of equaling points value of doing those missions. And that's a shame to me because that really has press gagged everyone into doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Whereas multiple paths to victory would have been great. Do you want to be a pirate fighter? Yes, I do. Right, cool. Well, you can do that. And I've scored as many points as, little Jimmy, who's gone and done nothing but missions. It doesn't work like that. If I wanted to be a tech genius, I have a really decked out ship that has all these amazing synergies. Like you said, you're getting medals every time you're doing this, that, and the other. Medals are only worth half a point at the end.
Yep.
So you can't even do it with that. If you're not completing missions, you haven't got a hope in hell of being anywhere near a winner.
Yeah,
in the game, and that I think is a bit of a downer.
Yeah, a single path to victory, basically shoehorning you all into doing it.
Yeah, a bit of a shame, and I'd like to see maybe something in the future that maybe an expansion that addresses that issue, or maybe makes those paths to victory a bit more optional. But yeah, that's that. Anything else about the gameplay that particularly stands out to you, James? Good or bad?
I'm not so sure I'm a fan of reserving missions. Basically, so the missions are on planets, which are obviously depicted on the main board. Mm-hmm. Whoever gets there first effectively reserves it.
Yeah, because as long as you're sat on it and you're the first person to arrive, no one else can do that mission.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
And that plays into one of the other things that, again, it sounds like I'm being really negative about this. I'm not meaning to be super negative, but one of the negative things I don't like about the game is the player interaction. There is almost none. Other than if you get to the mission that I wanted to get to before me, that's a mild annoyance. You take the tech card that I was looking up, that's a mild annoyance.
Yeah.
That's it.
I would like to have seen a bit more player interaction.
I agree with you, Shota. I don't agree with the whole, if you happen to get to a planet first, that you reserve it. If you use an action to claim it, I might understand. I can't complete it, but if I use my action to claim it, and I'll complete it next turn, fair enough. Because you've then sacrificed your turn.
Yeah, the only bit of what I would actually call player interaction is when you complete the faction trackers. Because you get they've all got a card on them and they all give you certain things. And quite a lot of them do, you have to make a decision because it will be, you get a benefit, but everyone else gets this minor benefit.
Yeah.
And it's like, do I want everyone to have this minor benefit?
Yeah, exactly. So that's player interaction. There's not a great deal of it in the game, but I would say, on the whole, the pros of this game heavily outweigh the cons. It is good fun to play the game. I have one concern that I was talking to you about before we actually started recording, which was, while I'm playing this game all the time right now, I love this game. It's probably one of my favourite games from last year. It's actually currently in my top 10 of all time. However, it's not been out that long. Where will I feel this sits in a year's time?
Yeah.
Is there enough replayability in this game to keep it fresh?
Yeah.
And all the time that there's only one path to victory, I think the answer to that is no.
Yeah, I'm kind of in two minds, if I'm honest about this. It's like I said, being a science fiction fan in general, I'd say this game whets my appetite for it.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm completely honest with myself, as much as I do enjoy it, it leans towards the lighter weight of games to me. I can already see this. And I'm like, okay, what do I want to see in this game? Okay, a second playable faction, so you can have player interaction.
Yeah.
Slightly, everything that's in this game, but slightly more.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that. I think you're 100% right. On a scale of 1 to 10, this sits on the scale of weight at about 3, maybe. It's not gateway by far, far from it, but we're nowhere near middleweight.
No,
it's very, very lightweight game, which is not a detriment. It's just not what I was expecting.
Yeah,
I was expecting more.
Like I said, it's made me think it's like, yeah, this is great, but now I want more.
Yeah. I mean, that in itself is good because it's now got you sitting there going, I want more, which means, you've announced an expansion. Cool, there's my money.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it should be in business, I guess. But as of yet, I believe they have said, or the designer has said in the past that, yes, he is working on an expansion, but nothing has been made official. There's no pre-orders, no artwork or anything like that for it yet. So I'm hoping that will be announced at some point this year. If it comes out, because obviously this was released at Essen, I'm hoping the first expansion will also be released at Essen. Because this was not a Kickstarter, James. This was a straight to retail, which top marks for that.
Yep.
Really, really good. So, James, any final thoughts about the game before we move on to our evaluation of where it should sit in the collection?
Yeah. I think the final thoughts is just basically repeating what I've just said, which is I do enjoy this game. I enjoy the genre of the theme of this game. It technically ticks all the boxes, but after playing it, now I want a bit more in depth.
Yeah. And I think being a space game, a space exploration game especially, I was really expecting something a bit more, not sort of 4X or 18XX or whatever.
No, but the exact this, but more.
Yeah.
That's why it's like, so I sort of delving into the franchise that it's so obviously based on.
Yeah.
There, like you said, there's no, aside from the pirates, there's no combat. So I would immediately like to see a choice of 2 factions for the players. Maybe a slightly bigger board, maybe a slightly bigger player count. Maybe instead of 4, but make it 6 and have 3 and 3.
Okay, yeah.
So you've still got that sort of element because you're all basically on the same team.
Yeah.
You still got that sort of element of it, but 2 teams. So there is a bit of player interaction. There's no random encounters. How many of these science fiction franchises is ship is flying through space and
encounters a meteor storm?
Yeah, a meteor storm, a gravity flux, a wormhole, insert generic sci-fi anomaly. None of that.
Yep.
That could just randomly do things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what you're saying, and I think what you're saying, James, is probably what I really, if I try and put my thoughts into words, which I guess I really should be doing on a podcast, but you want something to ramp the game up.
Yes.
Well,
it is because
the game is good. The game is very good, but there's no climactic finish to it. There's no events that make you go, ah.
So space is a dangerous place to start with. It's like you said, meteor showers. It's almost like if you're going to make it just so you have to get to these missions and it's kind of a race to who gets there first.
Which, it really is, yeah.
I'm trying to think of a family-friendly way to phrase this, but the game should almost be trying to stop you from getting there.
Yeah.
It's like you've encountered a random wormhole. You were flying here. Whoop, you're on the other side of the board now.
Yeah, exactly. There. That kind of thing would be pretty cool. And I'd imagine it'd be fairly easy to implement by
an event card.
An event deck.
An event deck, just as, you have to draw an event card every time you cross a space lane.
Yeah. Or if you use your really OP jump drive, it's like, I've done the jump drive. Now I've got to reveal an event deck, which maybe 1 in 8 or something like that is bad.
Yeah.
Something like that would be kind of cool. And I think if you brought out something like that as like a module for the game, so it's like, no, the base game is the base game, much like Heat.
Yeah.
Release a module. It's like, right, we're playing with all people that have played this game before. We want to step this up a little bit. Let's use the events module. Let's use the rival faction model or module and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That That, I think, is a really cool idea.
I mean, to be honest, I think he has set the standard for that module way of doing things. It's like, because it is literally, a lot of expansions are quite, like you said, full on to integrate them, whereas that is just, I love the way that those just slot in.
Yeah.
And a lot of games could learn from that.
Yeah, I think it was done exceptionally well. And I definitely think that CGE should look at going down that route for expanding Starship Captains, because I'm sure it's going to happen, because this game got a lot of buzz last year. It's still getting buzz now. It's only recently come back into retail where it's not selling out immediately. So, yeah. Value, James. Do you think there's value in this game? £45 is what you can currently buy this for. I believe the RRP is about £59.
I think, if I'm brutally honest, it's a little steep for what's in there.
Okay. What makes you think that?
No box insert.
I mean, the zero box insert is not good. But, I mean, I would disagree to a level. I think the components in there they're very, very good quality. I think they are worth that price. However, it is ruined by I don't want to say that it's overpriced because it hasn't got a box insert. It should have had at least something.
It should have had something. I don't
expect it to be the best box insert.
If you're going to spend, how much did you say the RRP was?
I think it's about $59.
If you're going to spend £59 on a box on a game, and then I was here when you opened it.
Yes.
I heard the curse words that flew out of your mouth as you started pulling the components out.
Yes.
If you're going to part with that much money, you're not expecting to be pulling damaged components out of the 100%. Box.
Yeah, I would agree with that, yeah. And I can't pass it off onto the company that I bought it from, because it was exceptionally well packaged. The outside of the box, James, is spot on, bar where I dropped it about 3 days ago.
Yeah.
It's been spot on till now. So all that damage came from the inside of that box, which is a real shame. And yeah, I know CGE has now given out the license for other companies to make official licensed inserts for it. Maybe do that before you put it in production, and then, I don't know, stick one in the box. Would be great. Thank you. Or have it as an option to buy on release. Openly say, there's no box insert in it. However, if you want it, it's an extra £10. I would happily pay it, and I think a lot of people would, if it's going to protect the game, the investment that they have made. Okay, so let's talk about gameplay length, James, very quickly. I think I got it slightly wrong at the start, but it basically says it's about 20 to 25 minutes per player. Would you agree with that? So let's say
on average,
4-player game,
an hour.
You reckon an hour? I would say it's pretty quick for a 4-player game.
I would say
about an hour and a half.
Once you've got the rules down, I would say we've done it in about an hour. Once it's that's what we were saying about it being towards the lighter weight of the games. Is there isn't once you understand the mechanics of the game, it's not the turns go by pretty quickly. And yeah, I'd say maybe just over an hour.
Okay, I'd still err more towards the hour and a half. But yeah, I can see if everyone knows how to play the game, they know their strategies. You could probably bring that down. Add in the setup time. I mean,
the setup time. Yeah, if we're including the setup time, definitely an hour and a half.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 20 minutes to set the game up properly. Conservatively, that has a maximum 20 minutes. Once you know how to set up the game without having to read the rule book, that does shorten that a fair bit. But add in the setup time, you are looking at somewhere between an hour and 15 to an hour and 45. I know that you don't own this game, James. What's your mindset when it comes to whether you would recommend this to someone to buy or just play?
While I personally do think it's a little on the expensive side for what you're getting, I would still recommend as a purchase and a play.
So with the fact that you can buy it £45, is that worth someone's money?
I would say yes.
Yeah? Okay.
It is an enjoyable game, if you're into that kind of stuff, doubly so.
Yeah. And as someone who is not into Star Trek, or particularly into sci-fi as a general, I like it. I think it's worth every penny that I paid for it. I don't think I paid the full RRP. I can't actually remember. I think I paid $50 when I got mine. But aside from the few minor negatives that I've said, I've also said that this is currently one of my favourite games of all time. And I am very excited to see where it goes going forward, which probably doesn't surprise anyone to say that this is going to be a collection keeper for me, at least for the next year to a year and a half. We're getting a lot of plays of this in at the moment. There's a lot of people requesting it. I am in fact, we're both going to a brand new board game convention this coming weekend where we will probably take this with us, and I'm sure we'll be teaching new people there. So definitely for me, I think it's worth the £45. If you can't get it for that sort of price and you're forced to play the RRP, I'd probably sit around and wait for a little bit. But other than that, it's pretty good. I'm very happy with it. Do I recommend the game? Yes, I do. I think James does as well. Other than that, is there anything else you want to say about it, James?
No, I think we're pretty much done, mate.
Okie dokie. Now, I nearly, James, went and said, let's hand over to our newsman, Paul. But I can't do that anymore.
Nope.
So now I've got to come up with some other way of just, close this down. How do we do it?
I don't know. We've never had to do it.
Well, I suppose we just do our normal close down, but without that sort of, let's hand over to Paul. On that note, guys, this coming Thursday is going to be Paul's very first solo standalone news show. So we look forward to hearing what he does with that. He's now taken full ownership of that show. I'm not doing any of the editing. I'm not doing any of the music or anything like that. So I'm very, very interested to see what he does with it. But yeah, should we get off, James, and go and play some games or something like that?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Thank you for joining us, guys. Till next week, my name has been Jason.
And I've been James.
And you have been listening to the Meeple Minded podcast. Join us next week for more tabletop gaming goodness. Ta-ta, goodbye.